The automatic glass doors of First National Bank of Chicago slid open with a soft hiss as Sophia Miller stepped inside. The cool air from the air conditioning hit her face, but it did little to calm the storm brewing in her chest. She adjusted the strap of her worn-out leather purse and kept her eyes down, hoping not to attract attention. Behind her, the sharp, confident click of designer heels echoed against the marble floor. Her older sister, Emily Carter, strode in like she owned the place. Emily's long blonde hair bounced with every step. Her red silk blouse shimmered under the fluorescent lights, and the massive diamond ring on her finger sparkled as if announcing her superiority to the world. Emily always had a way of making Sophia feel small. Sophia swallowed hard and clutched the envelope in her hand that held a deposit slip. She only needed to withdraw $400, just enough to cover groceries and utilities until the next paycheck came in. It wasn't much, but for her little family, it meant security for the week. Emily glanced at the slip in Sophia's hand and smirked. $400? She whispered harshly, though loud enough for people in line to hear. Sophia, people spend that much on a handbag. Why even bother standing in line for something so pathetic? Sophia's cheeks burned. A few people turned to look at her, curiosity mixed with judgment. She wanted to vanish into the cold marble floor. It's enough for us, Sophia murmured softly. But her words dissolved into the hum of bank conversations and the faint ding of computers behind the counters. Emily rolled her eyes dramatically. No wonder you're always stuck in the same place. You think small, you live small. If I were you, I'd be too embarrassed to even show my face here. Her voice carried, and the man ahead of them shifted uncomfortably, pretending not to eavesdrop. Sophia wished she could tell her sister to stop, to leave her alone, but years of being belittled had tied her tongue. The line that felt like an eternity. The queue inched forward. Sophia counted the polished tiles on the floor, just to distract herself from the humiliation. Emily, meanwhile, busied herself scrolling on her latest iPhone, sighing dramatically every few minutes as if standing there was torture. When Sophia finally reached the teller's counter, she handed over her ID and slip with trembling hands. The young teller smiled politely, entered the information, and handed over a crisp stack of bills. There you go, ma'am. $400. Sophia thanked him softly, her relief short-lived because Emily immediately hissed in her ear. That's it? You're actually going to walk out of here with only $400 in your hand? Do you even realize how cheap that looks? People must think you're broke. The words sliced through Sophia's chest. Her hand tightened around the envelope, and her eyes stung with unshed tears. She turned toward the exit, hoping to leave quickly before anyone else noticed. But Emily wasn't done. The shove soon as they stepped outside, Emily grabbed Sophia by the arm. Her manicured nails dug into her skin. I can't do this anymore, Emily spat. I can't be seen with you. You're humiliating me in front of people. Just get out of my sight. She shoved Sophia forward, hard enough that she stumbled against the cold stone wall of the building. A couple walking by glanced at them with raised brows, but no one intervened. Sophia steadied herself, blinking rapidly as the city's winter wind whipped across her face. She wanted to scream, to tell Emily how cruel she was, but the words stuck in her throat like stones. All she could do was clutch the envelope tighter and fight back the tears that blurred her vision. Emily adjusted her handbag and muttered under her breath, God, you're pathetic. Don't ever ask me to come with you again. With that, she strutted back inside the bank as though nothing had happened. Alone on the sidewalk, Sophia stood frozen, surrounded by strangers who hurried past with coffee cups and briefcases. The towering skyscrapers around her seemed to press down, making her feel even smaller. She thought of her husband, David Miller, who had been working tirelessly on his new business venture. He had always told her not to let Emily's words get to her. Sophia, he would say, you're worth more than she could ever understand. But right now, standing outside the bank with just $400, Sophia didn't feel worth much at all. Her sister's voice echoed in her mind. Cheap? Broke, humiliating. She lowered her head, her long brown hair falling forward like a curtain to hide her tears, a sound that changed everything. Then she heard it, the low, commanding purr of an engine. It cut through the noise of honking taxis and chatter of pedestrians like a roar announcing power. Sophia lifted her head just as a sleek black Rolls-Royce Phantom glided toward the curb in front of the bank. Its polished surface reflected the afternoon sun, gleaming like a jewel against the gray streets. Heads turned instantly. Conversation stopped. Even the doorman by the bank straightened, his eyes widening in awe. The car rolled to a perfect stop. The chauffeur, dressed in a sharp black uniform, stepped out swiftly and walked around to open the rear door. And then, he appeared. David Miller. Sophia's husband stepped out of the car, tall and broad-shouldered, his navy blue Armani suit hugging his frame perfectly. His polished shoes gleamed, his tie crisp, his confidence radiating with every step. People on the sidewalk whispered, pointing at the luxury car and the man who had just emerged from it. Sophia's breath caught in her throat. She hadn't expected him. David's eyes scanned the crowd until they landed on her. The harsh lines of his face softened, and a warm smile tugged at his lips. He walked toward her with the steady, unhurried steps of a man who owned every inch of space around him. The whispers grew louder as strangers tried to guess who he was. When he reached her, David cupped her cheek gently. "Honey," he said, his voice rich and steady. "I thought I'd come pick you up. Are you ready?" The tears Sophia had been holding back spilled over, but this time they weren't from humiliation. They were from relief, from pride, from love. And just then, the glass doors of the bank swung open again. Emily's laughter still echoed in Sophia's mind long after she left the bank. Even sitting in the luxurious Rolls-Royce beside David, she couldn't shake off the sting of humiliation. The leather seats, the quiet hum of the engine, the gentle fragrance of David's cologne, none of it dulled the memory of her sister's sneer. David glanced at her. "Sophia, you're quiet. What happened in there?" Sophia hesitated. Should she tell him? She hated to bring up Emily's cruelty. But David's gaze was patient, his hand resting warmly over hers. "She embarrassed me," Sophia admitted finally, her voice trembling. "She told me I was pathetic for withdrawing $400. She pushed me out of the bank as if I didn't belong there." David's jaw tightened. His usually calm, steady demeanor shifted into something sharper. "She pushed you? In public?" Sophia nodded. Everyone was staring. "I wanted to disappear." For a moment, silence filled the car. Then David said quietly, "Sophia, your sister has taken your kindness for weakness for too long. Maybe it's time she learns who you really are." Later that evening, Sophia sat alone on the balcony of their suburban home. The view stretched across manicured lawns and a quiet, tree-lined street. But her heart was restless. Memories of childhood floated back. Emily had always been the star. The prettier one, the sharper one, the one everyone in the family praised. Sophia was the quiet sister, the one who helped clean up, who stayed out of trouble, who never complained. But the truth was, Sophia had built a life of dignity. She had married David, a man who had started from nothing and built his empire brick by brick. Together, they had crafted a life based not on vanity, but on respect. So why did Emily's voice still hold so much power over her? The next day, Sophia received a text from her sister. "Don't take yesterday personally. You know how you can be simple. Anyway, I'm hosting a small dinner this weekend. Don't embarrass me. Dress nicely. And maybe don't mention money, it's not your strength." Sophia's stomach turned. The arrogance in every word burned her. Still, she showed the text to David. He read it slowly, then smiled. A slow, deliberate smile. "Perfect. Let her dinner be the stage," Sophia frowned. "Stage for what?" "For the lesson she's long overdue." The night of the dinner arrived. Emily's house was a sleek, modern mansion on the edge of town, all glass walls and designer furniture. The kind of house meant to impress guests rather than make anyone feel at home. When Sophia and David arrived, Emily greeted them with a forced hug. She looked stunning in a sequined emerald dress, her blonde hair swept up into a flawless bun. But her eyes flicked immediately to Sophia's attire, a navy silk gown that flowed elegantly, paired with understated diamond earrings. Emily smirked. "Well, you cleaned up better than I expected." Sophia bit her tongue. David, however, only offered a polite nod. Inside, the dining room buzzed with Emily's friends. Wealthy socialites, local business owners, and even a couple of bankers Sophia recognized from the other day. Emily clearly wanted to flaunt her network. As dinner began, Emily dominated the conversation, sprinkling in backhanded compliments toward Sophia. "So, Sophia," Emily said loudly enough for the whole table to hear, "did you manage to balance your checkbook after yesterday's adventure?" A ripple of laughter spread around the table. Sophia felt her cheeks heat, but before she could reply, David placed his glass down. His voice was calm, but carried a weight that silenced the room. My wife doesn't need to balance pennies. Emily, she manages accounts most of you couldn't dream of touching. Emily blinked, caught off guard. Excuse me? David leaned forward slightly, his gaze locked on her. Sophia is not just simple. She has stood by me through every stage of building my company. While you mock her for withdrawing $400, she's the reason I was able to build a business worth millions. The table went dead quiet. Emily laughed nervously. Millions, really? I mean, no offense, David, but isn't that a bit exaggerated? David raised an eyebrow. Would you like proof? From his inside pocket, he pulled out a slim leather case and laid down a card. The logo gleamed in gold, Harrington Enterprises International. Several guests gasped. The name was well known in business circles, associated with real estate and luxury development projects across multiple states. Sophia stared at him in shock. She hadn't even known he carried those cards. Emily's face drained of color. You own Harrington Enterprises? David nodded casually. Correction, we own it. Sophia and I, murmurs rippled across the table. Some guests looked at Sophia with newfound respect. Others shifted uncomfortably, realizing they had joined in Emily's cruel laughter earlier. Emily tried to regain her composure. Well, that's impressive. But why keep it such a secret, Sophia? Sophia finally found her voice. She lifted her chin, her eyes steady. Because true worth doesn't need to be shouted. It reveals itself when the time is right. The silence that followed was electric. Emily's smile faltered, the confidence slipping from her face. For the first time in years, Sophia felt the balance of power shift, and deep down she knew this was only the beginning of her revenge. The dinner had ended in an uncomfortable silence. Emily, who had once basked in admiration, now sat frozen as her guests whispered about Sophia and David's empire. The clinking of glasses, the laughter, the smug superiority Emily thrived on. It had all evaporated into the tense air. When Sophia and David excused themselves and left, Emily didn't even follow them to the door. She sat at her glittering dining table, staring at the business card David had left behind like it was mocking her. For years, Emily had convinced herself she was the successful one, the sister with style, class, and connections. But tonight, she'd been exposed. The following week, Emily couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. She tried to call Sophia several times, but Sophia didn't pick up. Messages went unanswered. That silence hurt more than any argument could have. Her pride wouldn't let her admit it, but Emily needed Sophia. Without her sister's steady kindness to lean on, her own world felt hollow. At the same time, Sophia's world was blooming. David had always been successful, but now, together, they embraced their place in society more openly. Invitations began pouring in. Business conferences, charity galas, networking dinners. And everywhere they went, people respected Sophia not as David's wife, but as his equal. 2 weeks later, Emily showed up at Sophia's house unannounced. Sophia was in the garden, trimming roses when she saw her sister's car pull up. She set down her scissors, wiping her hands on her apron, and waited. Emily stepped out, looking far less polished than usual. Her makeup was rushed, her hair loosely tied back. For once, she looked ordinary. Hi, Emily said awkwardly. Hi, Sophia replied evenly. There was a long pause before Emily blurted out, I'm sorry. Sophia raised an eyebrow. Sorry for what? For mocking me in front of strangers? For treating me like I'm beneath you? Or for the years of little digs and insults? Emily winced. All of it. I don't know why I've always done that. Maybe I was jealous. Maybe I thought if I kept you small, I'd feel bigger. Sophia crossed her arms. And how's that working out for you now? Tears welled in Emily's eyes, but she quickly blinked them away. I don't want to lose you, Soph. You're my sister. Sophia studied her for a long moment. She saw sincerity there, but also fear. The fear of losing her place, of being left behind. Finally, Sophia spoke. Emily, sisters don't humiliate each other. Sisters lift each other up. I forgave you 100 times before, but that day at the bank, that was the last straw. You didn't just insult me, you made me feel like I was worthless. And I can't let anyone, even you, have that kind of power over me anymore. Emily's voice cracked. So what does that mean? You're cutting me out? Sophia shook her head. No, but things won't ever be the same. If you want a relationship with me, it has to be built on respect. Nothing less, Emily swallowed hard, nodding. She wanted to argue, but deep down she knew Sophia was right. That weekend, Sophia and David attended a charity gala at a downtown hotel. It was the kind of event Emily used to dream of hosting. But now, Sophia was the one in the spotlight. Photographers snapped pictures as she stepped out of the Rolls-Royce Phantom, her navy gown shimmering under the lights. David's arm steady around her. Inside, she gave a speech about resilience, dignity, and the importance of kindness. Her words weren't directed at Emily, but they could have been. Every guest listened intently, not to David, the millionaire, but to Sophia, the woman who had once been underestimated and ridiculed. When the applause roared through the hall, Sophia smiled, not out of pride, but out of peace. She finally understood something Emily never had. True power didn't come from money, designer clothes, or flaunted connections. It came from knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. Back at home later that night, Sophia and David sat together in the quiet living room. "You handled Emily well," David said gently. Sophia leaned against him, a soft smile curving her lips. "I think I finally handled myself well. For years, I let her words define me." "Not anymore," David kissed her forehead. "That's the Sophia I fell in love with." She looked up at him, her eyes warm. "And that's the life I want to keep building, with dignity, not arrogance." The hum of the Rolls-Royce outside was faint, but to Sophia, it wasn't just a car anymore. It was a symbol, a reminder of how far she'd come, and how much further she could go when she refused to be small. Emily, sitting alone in her mansion that same night, scrolled through photos of the gala online. Every headline praised Sophia, her elegance, her words, her partnership with David. For the first time in her life, Emily realized she had lost something she couldn't buy, couldn't fake, couldn't steal respect, and she had lost it because of her own arrogance.